Hey there, YouTubers. This old sword back at you once some more. I have what I think might be an interesting little comparison and video for you today. I found that there's a type of knife, and there's more than these out there, that give you a full-size handle, pretty much, and a short little blade, about 3 inches or so for these two. So I thought we'd take a look at two knives while at the same time kind of comparing and understanding the type of knife they are. They're a little different in the way they're set up, but more or less, I guess less is the operative term, and more. You get more handle than you get blade. So these are not going to be ones where you get a maximum length of blade. They weren't designed that way to the best of my knowledge. On the bottom, we have the Artisan Wren, W-R-E-N, as in the bird. On the top, the steel wheel piercer. Both meant to be more or less discreet carry, usable knives, which can certainly be working knives. And we'll take a look at the specs in a minute. Both out of D2, as I said. The Wren is by Artisan. The piercer is by Steel Wheel. Not really sure I'm comfortable carrying a knife called the piercer, but we see this a lot these days. Yes, officer, that's my pocket knife. It's called the piercer. Anyway, they're both deep carry, extremely so with the piercer, where they fashion a pocket clip to be long and almost look like a pen. You could almost wear that in a shirt pocket or suit pocket. Not quite a complete deep carry, but close enough on the Artisan. And we're going to see some differences as we look at them, and then I'd just like to discuss maybe some of the potential purposes of having such a knife with a short blade and a longer handle. So looking at the Artisan first, and let's put the piercer aside, we have considerably good stock in the blade. Let's see if we can convert this to millimeters. 3.7 millimeters, coming up on 4 millimeters. And you know what? If we grab it, let's grab it by the flipper, because they haven't removed anything there. 3.8, so almost a 4 millimeter blade stock. On the piercer, considerably thinner. I don't know if it's considerably thinner. 3.3, 3.2, somewhere in that vicinity. Yeah, 3.5. All right. We're going to call it, what should we call it? Yeah, well, I'm grabbing it in the, I'm going to call it a 3.3. So thicker blade stock, and it's appearing thicker to the eye as well on the Wren. Well, I've got the calipers out. Let's take a look at the handles on these. Yeah, 0.61 on the Wren. Going to be a little thinner. Yeah. 0.48 on the piercer. Overall lengths. The piercer is, we're going to call it 7 3/4. And on the Wren, 7.5. That's interesting. So we got a little bit shorter knife with the Wren. Yeah, that's visible. And what other measurements do we want here? About blades. So we got a blade on the Wren of 3 inches. I think we're going to get the same on the piercer. Yeah, it's a little bit longer. 3 1/8, almost 3 1/4. Interesting. So the piercer is a liner lock. It's not going to flip easily at all. If you give it a little wrist, you can open it up with one movement. It's an interesting slot style opener. Opens very positively. You've got a sharper shelf there on the oval hole to be able to roll it right open. Again, if you set up right, you can flip it open all the way. Relatively thin liner. Lanyard hole. As I say, very deep carry on the pocket clip right to the butt with an interesting clip. And we have a flipper with the Wren. It's on bearings. The piercer, by the way, is on washers, but that's okay. We have a very compact overall knife here with the Wren, but you can get your whole hand on it, and you got a very usable finger choil in the blade. So for close work, very nice. You know, it feels very secure having a full handle on such a short knife. So as a working knife for whittling, for cutting open boxes, whatever you may choose to do with this, very usable. Same thing with the piercer. Now, since I'm noticing it right now and I forgot about it, let's take a look at weights. You're going to see a difference here. Let's go with the Wren first. It's a little bit of a pocket anchor. 5.64 ounces for that little guy. One of the reasons being there is no weight relieving, and you have relatively thick full liners, stainless steel liners. Whereas we have embedded steel liners on the Wren, the piercer, and it is weight relieved. Well, let's see what we got here. So we have close to half the weight, 3.53 ounces for the piercer. Much easier in the pocket. Not sure why they got so much beef going here with the Wren. You know, they're both relatively inexpensive knives. You can look them up, but I think they're the steel wheel may be a little more, but the Artisan here probably 40 tops. You may be talking 50, maybe 60 for the steel wheel. I'm not really sure. Had this for a while as well as the Wren. The Wren just looked interesting. I like the shape and the size. I'm not sure the weight threw me off. It certainly feels substantial in the hand. It's very handle heavy. Got a nice fuller here. And the Artisan Design logo. Got a T8 here. Lanyard hole. The piercer, you have a lanyard hole as well. You have a reversible clip on it because it's attached to the butt end. You can swing it over to the other side. There are no special cutouts on the handle or what have you. Screws are flush, although they are a domed screw. Same thing here. I think they're probably T6s. Got a fuller here, as I said. Got a swedge on the top of the piercer. And much thinner point. Almost disappears. I mean, it's black and it's against a black background. But yeah, pretty thin. You got a much beefier tip here if you're worried about working the tip a lot and what might happen to it. So there you have these two guys. Let me just give you a quick comparison against, let's say, Griptilian. Here's the Griptilian. Definitely about a 3/4 inch longer blade than the Wren, and a little bit longer than the Piercer. Piercer is sort of in this category, even though it seems smaller because of the blade versus handle ratio. And how does it stack up against the Rat 1? Pivot to pivot. Good inch or longer on the Rat 1 than the Wren. And a good almost inch longer on the handle, so considerably bigger. Against the Piercer, significantly larger as well. So there you have my little comparison and kind of a look at what I like to call the long and short of it. The long handle with the shorter blade. Something you might like if you wanted to take a look at both of these and some of the prices. Could be right up your alley. At any rate, there you have it. Just kind of a fun little video and a quick comparison of this type of knife. This Old Sword signing out. Hope you like this and subscribe.